So, there were several quarterbacks I was definitely interested in seeing how they would do in their first preseason game, and one of those guys was not a rookie, but a second-year player who's playing on a new team, and that's Josh Rosen. It's definitely an interesting situation with Rosen. I can't remember a time where a young quarterback had been given up on that quickly, but, we'll see how it works, and we'll see what happens when he's with Miami. It should be mentioned that, the preseason, it only means so much. I don't personally feel like it doesn't matter, but I feel like it doesn't matter a lot. Like, I wouldn't say it's meaningless, but I certainly wouldn't say it's as meaningful as an actual NFL game. It's not even close, really. It maybe has 10% of the actual meaning of a regular NFL game, in my opinion. However, I still do think that there are interesting things to talk about, especially with young players, which is why a lot of my preseason videos have been on rookies. And so for Rosen, he had a night of ups and downs, and I'll start with the negatives first. I actually thought that as a whole, he played pretty well, but he did have some negatives, and so I will talk about them. I'll start off with what was definitely his worst play of the night. It's going to be this one. It's a cover 3 zone, and he has a receiver running right there, trying to get in between the gap and coverage, kind of below the linebackers, and it is a solid way you could pick up some yards. The Dolphins are on a first down and 20 right now, so they have to try to pick up 5 to 10 yards on this play, and then try to pick up another solid gain on a second down, and then hopefully on third down, they now have a convertible third down situation. So a route like this, not a terrible way to pick up some yards. And as you see, he does have a receiver who is kind of open. However, if I have to nitpick this, Rosen should have probably already been hitting him right here. The ball should be in the air right now, as opposed to him just getting ready to make this throw. If you're going to make this throw, you have to make it at the perfect timing. He's waiting a little bit, because now when he does make the throw, this gives a Falcon a chance to jump in front of the route and pick it off. Just a great defensive play. I mean, that has to be mentioned. Good job by him. It was definitely something that Rosen probably shouldn't have made. Also could have been a better ran route, and also just a great defensive play, so it kind of worked out in the worst way possible. But also, for Rosen, be better than that. You are better than that, so be better than that. There was also this play where it's a cover 1 hole, and they have a receiver running a curl route right there. And so again, watch what happens after this ball is snapped. For one thing, the line gets straight to Rosen. I mean, Rosen is just in immediate trouble right here. And he's pretty bummed out because he has a receiver who he feels was going to get open, but now he's under pressure, so it's hard to make that type of throw. But instead, he's going to make this throw wall wrapped up, and it actually still results in a catch. So I don't really know whether to call that a negative or a positive, if I'm being honest. My gut reaction would be don't make those throws, especially not that far down the field, because way more often than not, those turn into turnovers as opposed to them being completed passes. But at the same time, it should be mentioned, I mean, hey, it worked. And I mean, you should at least feel some confidence in Rosen himself for being able to make a type of throw like that. I mean, that's not easy to do athletically, but he was able to do it. I definitely thought that it was kind of hard to see exactly how well he played in that first game, just simply because his offensive line didn't really do him many favors at all. Really, he was running for his life all night. And even in this play, that Falcon is the guy who I'm going to want you to take a look at, as it's going to be a left tackle going up against him, but they'll also have the halfback to run up and chip him. So for Rosen, you should be saying, okay, we're chipping an edge rushers. That should mean that I have nothing to worry about right now. That should be the mindset. At least one guy is going to get taken out of play, so all I have to worry about is edge rusher on the bottom half of the screen. But if you look at the left tackle, he's way too far over to the left side of the screen. You have to have the mindset of, okay, if you want to run to the left side of the screen, go ahead, because I'm going to have a halfback and he'll just chip you right into me, and that's a great situation for me. But he's kind of playing this out as though it's just a regular play, which is a bad thing, because now the Falcon can easily just break inside the tackle and he can get right to Rosen for a sack. Again, for Rosen, I mean, you can't blame him for that one. I mean, what are you supposed to do in that situation? By the time he's looking upfield, just trying to make a read, he's already on the ground. And things like that are in a large way why you can't really take too much meaning into a preseason game. I definitely think you shouldn't put too much faith into a statistics preseason game. I mean, again, statistics may be a little bit here and there, but really you should just watch the tape if you are going to evaluate someone based on the preseason. Someone like Dwayne Haskins, you look at his numbers and say, oh wow, he must have played pretty terribly. But you actually watched the game and he didn't really play that badly. There was a bad route ran on a certain play, and also he did make one bad throw, but as a whole, he actually had some really good throws as well, and kind of just looked like a rookie. And if you look at Rosen's stats, I mean, there's good and bad about his stats. I mean, he went 13 for 20 with 191 yards. That's a pretty good yards per attempt, actually. In fact, that's a great yards per attempt. Over 9.5. I mean, you'll definitely take that. He also had no touchdowns to 1 interception, but again, how much stock do you really want to have in that? I don't know. And so, as I said, he had a night of ups and downs, and while the downs weren't really that far down, the ups were very high up, if you know what I'm trying to say. He had some great plays, and this one was one of them. It's going to be a cover 3 zone blitz, and those will be the routes that the Dolphins receivers will be running. But you don't have to pay too much attention to the routes they're running, largely because of what's going to happen right when this ball is snapped. Since it is a 5-man rush, the center is going to completely fail to pick up that it's going to be a blitz. As you see, he's just letting a Falcon go right by him, which is a bad idea. especially since it's play action with the back running a route, so he can't even try to pick up that Falcon. So Rosen is going to be in some trouble here. So he is going to just run outside the pocket, and he does have a receiver who is kind of open. But he's also running for his life, going to have to make a throw on the run, and it's also not as huge a window as it appears, because there is a Falcon who's just off screen who's going to be running over to try to make a play. But Rosen makes a great throw and able to pick up a few yards, even though the play had disaster written all over it. Again, that one might not have had the most positive impact compared to some other plays, but in terms of degree of difficulty, that's a very tough play to pull off, but he pulled it off with great execution. I mean, there is a reason why this guy was a top 10 draft pick just 2 years ago. It's because he could make some really tremendous plays, and this one was another one. It's going to be a cover one hole, and the Dolphins have a receiver running that route right there, which is obviously a great way to beat a cover one hole, since it is going to be a one-on-one matchup deep down the field. So this is definitely a shot Rosen could look to take, especially on a 1st down and 10. And one thing you'll see after this play develops is, his receiver's pretty open, so Rosen is going to say, okay, let's take a shot. And when the defensive back isn't further along than your own Miami Dolphin player, you can say, you know what, I trust my player to get open, I'm going to take a shot here, let's see what happens. And it also helps that he makes a perfect throw, his receiver makes a good catch, and they're able to pick up a big gain. I mean, that's what you love to see. And it's also worth mentioning that there was only a minute left in the half, too, so that's when you can afford to take some chances, just because you do want to get some points at the end of the half. It's good situational football, but it's also just straight up good football. I mean, it was just a good throw by Rosen. While his timing might have been off on that first play I showed you, I never thought his timing was very much not off on this play, where it's going to be a cover 3 zone and have a receiver running that route right there, and so in a route like this, really timing is everything. I mean, watch, what you'll see once this ball is snapped and the play develops, as of right now, really is when Rosen has to make his decision. His receiver is closer to the inside of the sideline, and there is maybe a gap where he could try to make this throw, but it's definitely not going to be a huge gap by any means. But again, as of right now, there's 27 seconds left in the half, so really an incompletion is no big deal, so what Rosen is going to do is throw it to his back shoulder towards the sideline. This way, if it's an incompletion, it's no big deal, but if it's a catch, well, then it could put you in position to potentially get a touchdown. And watch this throw Rosen puts on. I mean, that's just a beautiful throw, and that actually was a catch. It's going to get ruled on the field as an incompletion, but it ends up getting overturned, and it was in fact a catch. I mean, really, that's just a perfect throw from Rosen. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. Once again, good situational awareness, but it's also just a perfect throw, because I mean, even if he did miss it just a little bit to the outside, well then it's just an incompletion and who cares. But he was able to make a great throw that allowed the completion to happen, just a great throw from Rosen. And again, that's why I kind of do say that preseason has some meaning, because I mean, listen, there's some quarterbacks who just would not be able to make those types of throws. And that should be somewhat of a good sign if you are a Dolphins fan, and I'm not saying necessarily just go out and buy the Rosen jersey just yet. But maybe it's enough to let you look at the prices a little bit. Maybe buy a Chinese knockoff, I don't know. One last play I really liked. Once again, it's going to be a cover one hole, and have a receiver breaking over in the middle, which again can be a great way to beat this coverage, but you have to wait until he gets past the linebacker in the middle of the field. But the offensive line is going to hold in this play, and Rosen will have a chance to make a throw in that direction. But look at that window that Rosen has to throw to, and more importantly, look at how small it is. I mean, this is without a doubt good coverage, and there's not a big window at all for Rosen to be trying to make this throw too. It's going to take pinpoint accuracy, but that's exactly what it was. Just a great throw from Rosen. I mean, really, I was impressed with Rosen, I'm not going to lie. When I was watching the tape, I was actually pleasantly surprised by him. He had the bad interception early on, but he really did recover from that point forward and had a lot of great plays. Again, just one preseason game, we'll have to see how the rest of the preseason works, but I definitely think he is making a case for him to be the starting quarterback next year. They are kind of in a tough situation. I mean, do you go with the young guy, or do you go with Fitzpatrick and hope that he'll break out Fitzmagic and not Fitztragic? I mean, Fitzpatrick did kind of catch lightning in a bottle last year with Tampa Bay, but again, that could just be a fluke, and you don't really want to waste too much time on a 37-year-old quarterback when you do have a young guy who has a lot of potential. I would be pretty confident if I was a Dolphins fan. I would feel pretty excited about the fact that he did have at least a good preseason. Again, just a preseason, but still, I think it matters. Not a lot, but a little bit, sure. I definitely fear a little bit for Rosen, just in terms of the backlash he could potentially face if he doesn't have a great start to his next season with the Miami Dolphins. And I think that that's also very likely a possibility, just simply because, let's be honest, the Miami Dolphins, they're rebuilding this year. They don't have a ton of talent on the offensive side of football at all. They actually have one of the worst supporting casts in the league in terms of offense. And while they definitely have more talent on their defense, again, they're just in a rebuilding year right now. We all get it. So Rosen is kind of going from one bad situation to another, and I can definitely see a similar situation where if he doesn't do too well, at least numbers-wise with the Dolphins, he will probably face a lot of backlash. But also worth mentioning, it's the NFL, and really, who knows who's going to be good and who's going to be bad. It's all a guessing game, really. I mean, nobody thought the Indianapolis Colts were going to be good last year, and we especially didn't think they were going to be good once they started off 1-5, but then they ended up winning a bunch and making the playoffs. And of course, we also all thought that the Jaguars were going to be good next year, and that really didn't work out too well.
So maybe the situation that on paper doesn't look too promising ends up working out for Rosen. I don't know. It's possible. But either way, for a second-round pick, I think it was totally worth it for Miami.
And just because the Cardinals gave up on him definitely doesn't mean that he's bad. At least that's my opinion. I'd like to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.